Hi and welcome to Marin Wijali's podcast channel, Let's Talk, where clients share about their lived experience of recovery from addictions. My name is Koori, and on today's episode, we have Sam, who has been engaging with Marin Wijali services for the last 6 months during Covid-19. If you would like to know more about Marin Wijali services, please click on the links below. And now, Sam, welcome. How are you this morning?
I'm good.
Now, to start us off, could you share with us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at the moment?
My name's Sam. I'm a single mum of 2 boys, early teenage boys. I work in community health. I've come from a history of drug and alcohol.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up down on the south coast.
And how has it been for you working in community health during COVID this year?
Hectic. It would be the right word. There's a lot more stuff that we have to do, and there's a lot more mental health conditions and people that we're focusing on, and we're really busy.
So you've been engaging with Marin Wijali services throughout this year during COVID, but how did you originally find out about us and what were you needing help with?
So I started going to NA, Narcotics Anonymous, in early February, and a member from NA told me about it and gave me the number, and I sat on it for about a week or two and then decided I'd ring and do an intake. And the ladies were fantastic. There was no judgment. I was really, really pleased with that.
And what were you needing help with?
I originally had a drug and alcohol counsellor, and then it ended, but I could see that I still needed more support because it wasn't just getting off the drugs. It was like it's the support afterwards. Like getting off the actual drugs is just the start of your journey, and I could see that, and I was having thoughts about using. So that's why Marin's been really important to help with that extra support afterwards.
Sam, can you take us back to some of your earliest memories from your childhood?
From the beginning, to me, the beginning starts with my biological parents because I was adopted. They were heroin users and they were court ordered to go to rehab, and that's where I was conceived. I was picked up on my 2nd birthday, adoptive parents who I call mum and dad, and that's where I moved down to the south coast. Growing up, there was always sort of this unknown about the adoption and the biological parents, and everything sort of changed once I hit 18. I felt like I was split in half my whole life. Felt like half of me was meant to be this like so-called Dero, Druggo, that's where I came from thing, and the other half was what my adoptive parents had instilled in me. So I had to go and find out for myself.
So during your growing up years, what were some of your ambitions?
I originally wanted to be a police officer, and I found out I wouldn't be able to because of my eyesight, which was really upsetting for me. And then I thought, the Army or Air Force or Navy. But then again, my eyesight kept me out of those. So I felt really broken. It was something that I really wanted to do, be in a service position. And then I wanted to be an ambulance driver, and then I found out it was too short. Back then there was a height restriction. I just kept against walls constantly. So I fell into nursing.
And then how did drugs enter your life, Sam?
Mainly partners, boyfriends, friends, things like that who were doing it, who would convince, because originally I thought, you take drugs, you're going to die. That's what I was told.
Now, after the first couple of times you used, what impression did you form about drugs?
That you wouldn't die. It was a social, fun social thing. And I thought people liked me, that I worked better at my job, that I was accepted, things like that, yeah.
Now, I do want our listeners to know that it is very much possible for death to occur on the first time that you use, on the second time that you use, or on the 100th time that you use. It's very much unpredictable and could occur at any time, really. But for you, Sam, how and when did it become more than just a social thing?
It didn't take long because one's too many and 1,000's not enough, as they say. And that goes with anything. It doesn't didn't matter what substance it was, whether it was, drugs or alcohol. We would pick up the drugs and use it that night, and then the next morning I'm like, let's go get more, whereas other people were satisfied. So it just went from weekends and then it would trickle into weekends plus the Monday and Tuesday, and before you know it, you're doing it 7 days a week.
So from there, where did the drugs lead your life?
It led me into a world that I hadn't experienced before. It led me further and further away from the coast and up into the city and into the suburbs, people, places and things, and experiencing things and doing things that risky behaviour that I wouldn't otherwise have done. Getting in stolen cars, handing out, money to strangers, going to people's houses I didn't know.
And did you ever hit rock bottom?
No, I've had a few rock bottoms because I'm a poly user. So I would hit rock bottom with one substance and then quit that and then go on to something else and then hit rock bottom with that. Yeah, there's been a few times being kicked out of houses or had no money or no food. My adoptive parents saying that they don't want nothing to do with me. Family not talking to me.
And what do you imagine your parents were thinking and feeling at that time?
They were stressed, anxious, upset, worried. They were thinking, I know that my mum said, we did everything right. Why did she turn out like this? Why has she taken this road? They put so much time and effort. They waited 9 years to adopt, and they did everything. It just must be heartbreaking. But they also said that we know you're better than this and whatever else. But they also didn't understand. They hadn't come from that, world or experience.
Okay, now looking back, what do you think you had to overcome in order to get your life back on track?
A couple of things are really important. And early on, I learned about opiate use. I learned it's not as simple as just giving up the drugs. There's an emotional and a physical thing. So I learned a lot about that, and the lying and stealing and cheating. Also, I had to be ready. I had to want it. My mind, my outlook on things, that you are not where you come from, or I'm not my biological parents, that I am my own self and that I make my own path and I have the choice and the decision to do that.
Once you made the decision to change the direction of your life, did you come up against any barriers?
Yeah, there's a few. Because in the end, I was on the opiate replacement therapy program, and the barrier with that is the healthcare system and the doctors kept telling me that it was my medication and I'd be on it for the rest of my life. So people not believing in me, which is really difficult because you've burnt so many people and you want people to believe in you because you just need that little spark. And then the physical, like the body physical aspect is a barrier. And also being a single parent and working. I can't just take off and go to rehab. I've got kids to look after.
So how did you juggle all of that?
Very difficultly. Physically and emotionally, it was really hard, but just reaching out for support.
And what kind of services did you reach out to, Sam?
The drug and alcohol intake line, and I went to NA.
And for anyone listening who has not heard about what NA is, could you tell us a little bit about that and what they could expect if they attend an NA meeting?
You can expect love and support, openness. I knew of AA. I looked it up online. I looked up NA online and found a local meeting. To start off with, I was like, I don't want to hang around with a bunch of drug addicts. I'll just, spent 7 months coming off Suboxone, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't want to hang around and get pulled back into that lifestyle. But it wasn't that at all. Like when I went to my first meeting and sat in the back of the room, everyone talked about their experiences and I thought, oh my God, are they a fly on the wall? Do they know me? How is it that it's possible that we have the same experiences? And then at the end of the meeting, they ask you to ID. So you just give your first name or a nickname and how long you've been clean or if you've got the desire to be clean. And when it came to me, I was watching it And I was watching all these people. I was so nervous, like my palms are sweating. I was shaking, and it got to me. It's come around the circle. It's got to me, and I said, "Oh, I'm Sam, and I'm 4 weeks clean." And they all stood up and clapped and gave me a hug, and I nearly wanted to cry, because I thought, these people don't even know me. I'm a stranger to them, and they're proud of me, and they told me to come back. So that's what I kept doing, is going back. And the more I went back, the more I realised that it's a community, and that people care, and that we're in it together, and at work.
And given the COVID restrictions this year, have you still been able to keep in touch with the NA or AA meetings somehow?
Yeah, so it's gone online. So it's on Zoom meetings. You don't have to show your face. You can have the video and just listen to the audio and say you don't want to say anything. You don't have to share. Even in the physical meetings, you don't have to share. But just listening to other people's experiences and listening to the readings, they'll read a book, and certain things in the book just resonate with you and it'll stick with you and you'll think about it. So online's been amazing for me, because I work, I've got kids, so I could just go into my bedroom, shut the door, but I can still get that, NA experience. So it's been fantastic, really. And I've actually connected up with meetings in America. There's a worldwide one where people from Scotland, Thailand, everyone Zooms in. So it's been an amazing experience this year.
That's very encouraging to hear that you've still been able to keep in touch with the support that you need during what's been a very difficult year. Now, Sam, how would you describe the person that you are today compared to the Sam when she was in the depths of her addictions?
My thought processes and my feelings about myself is what's different about me today.
What do you mean by your thought processes?
The way I see the world, and the way I think about things, and the way I express myself. Just even the silent thoughts I have in my head. It's changed thanks to my counsellor, just the language and the thoughts that I have in my head. And just by changing those things, it changes the way I think and feel and react. It's just been amazing. I have a lot more empathy for people and situations. I am a lot less judgmental, and I don't seem to overreact to situations compared to what I used to. And that helps me not just emotionally and in my mind, but it helps me in my physical body as well. I'm not in a constant state of anxiety or stress or drama. A lot of the life things that happen sort of wash over me, and I'm able to cope, which in turn helps me be a better mother. It helps me be a better person in the community. It helps me in my employment, and it helps me sleep better at night. It helps me make better decisions about my life. I can see things a lot clearly instead of just doing and then regretting afterwards.
And with all these positive changes that you've mentioned, Sam, has anyone close to you noticed anything different about you, and have they made any comments?
Yeah, more and more I've had people say very positive things to me. I'll hear from the community, like the NA community or my employer, that I have integrity, which is amazing. People actually think I'm a good, honest person, because back in, drug using days, there was no way. I've heard that I'm intelligent, and it takes a couple of times for people to say that, and I'm like, oh, okay. But the main one was on Father's Day. I went down the coast to see my father. We had a good chat and coffee, and hung around for a while. And then when we were saying goodbye, I gave him a kiss goodbye. I said, "Goodbye, I love you, Dad." And as I was moving away, he pulled me back in and whispered into my ear that he's very proud of me. And my dad's doesn't say things like that. So I thought it was even more special that he whispered it in my ear. My dad's proud of me. All that heartache and hurt and pain that I've caused him over the years. Hopefully this will, help make up for it. Yeah.
Are there some things that you've been doing this year that you couldn't have even imagined yourself doing 12 months ago, Sam?
Putting the clothes out on the line.
Yeah.
Getting up early and having my time before the kids get up and ready for school. You know, they recommend that you have a routine. And with community health, it's different from one day to the next, and the times that you start and end are different. But if I have a set routine in the morning, even if my day is going to be all over the place, then it keeps me on the right track. You know, it's only a little thing, but I even make a conscious effort every day now to ask both my children how their day was and to actually stop and listen and to be present with them. Whereas before, I just didn't have time for that, or I wasn't interested, or it was too much effort, or my thoughts were on using. For many years, retroing the car has always been a big thing. And I'd always have these grand ideas that, oh, yeah, I'm going to save money and stuff, but never did, because the money would always go on unnecessary things or drugs. And the last 2 years in a row, I've been able to register my car without asking for any help from family or friends, which is a massive achievement. And I still was able to put food on the table and pay my rent.
Has there been any other things that you've been able to enjoy this year as a result of maintaining your recovery?
I enjoy being able to provide for my family, and I really enjoy the community that I've built for myself, not just around NA, but the school and the kids' parents and things like that. I really enjoy talking to people.
And finally, Sam, what's one or two things you believe you need to continue doing to keep yourself on your path of recovery?
I need to continue talking, because talking about my thoughts, my fears, my anxieties, and whether that's through NA, like sharing or going to meetings, or whether that's family or friends, talking is like the number one thing, because you get other people's perspectives, you get it out of your brain, you know, you don't obsess over the thoughts. Secondly, I have to keep good boundaries and be consistent and be strong in my boundaries. So if I come across someone who is doing risky behaviour that might bring that into my life, I have to use my boundaries to determine, is this worth, going down the wrong path and losing my house and my kids over, and it's not. So boundaries are really something that I have to continuously work on and keep doing. I have to keep my routines going and keep being kind to myself, and sometimes looking back at how far I've come and realising how much good I've done and how much effort I've put in.
Thank you for sharing your journey with us this morning, Sam. We really appreciate your time, and I trust that our listeners will be greatly encouraged. For those who would like more information about Marion Wijali services or NA and AA meetings, please click on the links below.